Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, July 14th, 2010, and welcome to the Gnostic Sphere. I'm Michael Morgan, and today is our first installment of the question and answers. Today's question will be coming from Jason Peckel off of the Fifth Way Mystery School list. As well, I'm an initiate of the Fifth Way Mystery School and an adept therein. And so let's go. Today his question is, Michael, let me find it real quick here. Sorry I didn't have that ready for you. For those of us who are just waking from social sleep, where is the beginning of such reprogramming that will allow one to read and write and solve equations? If this may answer questions for many people, feel free to video blog it. Alright, thank you very much, Jason, and let's get on with that then. Jason was talking about earlier in that posting how he had broken down himself and realized that he needed to do this. This was a very necessary thing, and that socially he had been, a victim of propaganda and lies. And anyway, let's get on with that. Where does the reprogramming start? That's a very, very good question, one very pertinent, and one I wanted to think about before I got to it. Now, he also talked about being reduced to infant status. Of course, that was some poetic license, I mean, he wrote me that, so he obviously knows how to write. The English language is deep in his unconscious. So what got tore down is, the veil was lifted from his eyes, and he saw that the necessity to reprogram, not to be just a puppet on the strings of whatever, whatever you're connected to, be it anything. Now, where does that reprogramming need to begin? Well, it's got to begin in the deep unconscious, but it's got to occur in a way that the body and mind and unconscious will respond to. Well, what are those things? First of all, what we've got to realize is that it's okay. One of the appropriate response to enlightenment, as the master Gurdjieff said, and Spensky from the Fourth Way, was that it is an appropriate response upon enlightenment to feel terror, the sheer terror of it all, because you realize, oh my God, everything I've built my world on, my personality, my relationships, to some degree or another, everything that I thought was firm and foundational has been stripped away. The cement turned into sand, and then it started raining, and that can be very, very scary. So we grope to try and find around. I mean, enlightenment, sure, it's light and you can see more clearly, but maybe you saw that what you were standing on was sand, and it's kind of like the bleeding cut of a child. They don't start crying until they see the blood. So it may be not that big of a deal, but when you first see it, it's like, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? So relax. You've done this before. Being an initiate of the Western Way, I believe in the doctrine, doctrine of reincarnation. I don't believe it. I don't believe anybody believes it exactly like anybody else. So I have my own reality tunnel with that. I have my own addendums and appendices with the general doctrine. I believe that it is a temporary fix to a temporary problem, and that reincarnation is going to begin to be wrapping up. It's not going to go on forever, simply because it's been going on for such a long time. We've made the mistake that we have an infinite number of times in which to do this. We don't, but neither is the fact that we only have one way to do this. Why do I bring this up? because you need to relax and know that you've been broken down, tore all the way down, your personality stripped completely from you, and rebuilt. Mother Nature has done this for you. It's just every time it happens, it takes your memory with you because your identity was so firmly locked in the personality that was locked into the genetic code of the last body. And when it decayed and saw corruption, went back to the elements from which it came, so did much of your memories. Not all, but much of your memories. So the body, the makeup of the body has much to do with it. The language of the body, how to get the brain literally and the unconscious, how to get these new programs in and to remember them. Because now, see, you've torn it down. Now you have the opportunity to learn how to do it and remain conscious. How to keep tearing yourself down and building yourself back up, and know how to do this consciously in tandem with Mother Nature, with the metaphysic, with the universe, with the plan of creation. And to do this, and in the East they call it the Antakarana, that is building the bridge of consciousness from all the way to the lower to the higher. That is the point of this, and if you can do this and do it well, life becomes a lot less, more joy is experienced, okay? You get to loving life, loving yourself, and loving your neighbors. How do we do this? Well, like you said, you've got to relearn the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic, because he didn't understand the mathematics of it, and the nomenclature, the verbiage, his usage. He understands some of the concepts, but basically he just knows that he's been reborn, he's at a newly planted, a neophyte level, and wants to know where to go from here and how to reprogram. Well, he's been reading some Robert Anton Wilson, Prometheus Rising, and I know that is a very good book. It's one I started out when I was at a very similar stage in my progression during this incarnation. And so I encourage him to continue reading the works of Robert Anton Wilson and getting a firm grasp and grokking Dr. Timothy Leary's model of the eight circuit of the human consciousness, wherein that the first four levels get you from infancy or from the womb to physical, maturation, to where the physical organ and the DNA can replicate, reproduce itself, and live on in the next generation. That's all that the job of the DNA is for. The rest of it, the mind has to consciously interact with to get above and beyond that fourth level. That's why the masses, almost anybody, non-initiate, whatever, if you're not consciously striving to become self-aware, it's not going to happen. It doesn't naturally occur. You're going against nature. I mean, yes, sure, it will eventually, maybe, but when we get to the point of Homo sapien, if you're not conscious, you tend to build things like nuclear weapons, things like that, rather than curing world hunger, rather than seeing that no one goes without. It's a us versus them mentality. You get tribal warfare. The apes throwing their shit at each other. Pissing on the map. That's what a political map is. It's our way of pissing on the territory. And the swinging dicks are going to rule. Well, come on. There's more enlightened ways to do that, and we have that. And Mother Nature's given it to us, and it's in our DNA. So it's important to understand DNA. Now, what's the cool thing about DNA? Well, a whole lot. I'm about to write a bunch of stuff on DNA, but basically for today's discussion, you program and you learn some sacred texts. Why are they sacred? Well, we're going to learn Hebrew in the West, and here in the Fifth Way Mystery School, we start out with the Hebrew alphabet. But then again, there's the Tibetan, and definitely the Arabic and the Greek. Now, see the works of the Meru Foundation. That's MERU Foundation. Also, you might want to look up Stan Tenen, Geometric Metaphors for Life, because I was going to go off and say a bunch of stuff, but just that's the reference, and I'll go from there. Now, we know that hold on. Part 2 is coming up. I'm reaching 10 minutes, and it's going to